Hi everyone, good afternoon. Hi Grandma Sherry. Hi In the Bushes. Hi BC. Hi Bob. Good to see everyone. I'm just going to give people a couple minutes to come in. Before we dive completely into this live stream, I almost went live about a half hour ago to I pushed this one back and I was going to squeeze another one in and then life happened and I wasn't able to, but just so you guys know, Nathan Millard, if you guys were following the Nathan Millard case, they did arrest a gentleman in relationship to his disappearance, to him being found deceased. And so let me pull that up real quick before we jump into Gannon. Give me 1 second here. I figured I would just cover it briefly at the beginning here and then we will dive deep into Gannon. Hi, Texas Turnaround. Hi, Salty C. Hi, Boo Will. Hi, Frazzled Mama 3. Good afternoon, you guys. Thank you, thank you. In the Bushes needs to be out of the bushes now. Yeah, she should be joining me on panel at some point here. I do want to go down through like the timeline, the different things from the beginning. There are some people, this was 3 years ago. And so there are some people who are new to true crime with like the Quentin Simon case and with other cases. And so they may not know about Gannon's story and they may not be familiar with it. And with this being a case that is going to trial, we will be watching the trial on this channel. And so I want to make sure that everyone is familiar with the details and honestly also the things that happened in the Facebook groups that you're not going to find on a news article. You can sit here and you can look at the arrest affidavit all you want. You can look at the news articles all you want, but there is there is information and things that we need to talk about that T did inside of the Facebook groups if from the time that Gannon was reported missing, the comments that she made on the Nextdoor app, the things that she said in their local community post, all the way to things that she had written on her church prayer list long before Gannon was ever even reported missing, long before she even killed him. There was somebody who had put in an anonymous prayer request for help dealing with their stepson. And I've always wondered, was that T? Was that T who wrote that prayer request? It was just the week or so before Gannon disappeared. And so it's a lot of questions that we have that we may never know the answer to. Hi, Amanda Carroll. Welcome. Hi, Laughing Stock. Yeah, justice for Gannon. Big case brought me closer to true crime. There was a girl local to me that went missing, Nalani Johnson, and it started me into true crime. Really following active cases, I guess I should say. I've always been interested in serial killers and all of the things like that, but really following the cases, Nalani Johnson was local to me. And then from there, shortly after Nalani, Justin was JJ and Tylee, and then Gannon. And then Gannon, of course, my sister-in-law went to church with them. And my niece was in Gannon's little sister's class. And so whenever he first was reported missing, they only lived a couple streets over from him. They went out, they were actively searching, they were actively participating from day one. She was one of the 160 people, her and her sons out there searching for Gannon the very first day, the very first night. And so this is one of those cases that I've always followed very closely. And you talk about how some cases affect you on a deeper level. Gannon, his story, Little Boy Blue, that is one of them for me. He has always, it's always been very close to my heart. Always. Hi, Mama Bear, too. How are you? Hi, Sean. Okay, so let me show you guys this article from the Nathan Millard case real quick before we start talking about Gannon. And so Nathan Millard was the man who went on a business trip and he disappeared. They were searching for him, and then he was found wrapped in a rug, wrapped in plastic, and police at the press conference were like, "Oh, there's no foul play. No foul play involved." And everybody was sitting there raising their eyebrows like, how is that even possible? How can a man be left wrapped in plastic and wrapped in a rug and then it be not foul play? And so they did arrest a person of interest today. And says, Baton Rouge, the man police named a person of interest in the Nathan Millard case is now in custody, sources confirm with Unfiltered with Kieran. Derek Perkins, age 45, was arrested Monday, March 13th. So he was actually arrested yesterday in Baton Rouge, sources confirm. Baton Rouge police reached out to the public in help finding Perkins last Friday after they had been searching for him for several days to no avail. Perkins has been booked as a fugitive along with other charges. He was wanted for questioning in the Millard case, and it's unclear at this time what, if any, connection he has to the case and if he will be charged or not. Those details are critical to the case and, if released, could jeopardize the investigation. So they're not saying what he's booked on yet. Right now, it is for a warrant that he had for his arrest for a probation violation. But UWK has also learned that Perkins' vehicle was found torched close to where Millard's body was recovered. Sources confirm that a cadaver dog was able to lead officers to his car, specifically the trunk, despite it being burnt. So he literally set his vehicle on fire after he dumped Nathan's body and he left it close to the scene. Yeah, his car is clearly connected to the case. Yes, okay, Magenta, that's great. Please do. So he was a wanted suspect for charges unrelated to Nathan's case, probation violation, criminal damage to property, and 3 counts of access device fraud and unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. So he is 42 years. Nathan was 42 years old whenever he disappeared on February 22nd, during what was supposed to be a quick 24-hour work trip. He reportedly was in town to meet a client at a construction site. His body was found at 3 a.m. on March 6th after someone called saying there was a bad smell off of Scenic Highway near Chippewa Street. So when they responded, they found him wrapped in a rug and in plastic, and his body was badly decomposing. So they still have not determined the cause or manner of death, and they're going to have to wait on the final toxicology report. But this man is in custody. This is the guy that they had been showing his picture, asking for anyone who had seen him because they wanted to talk to him, quote unquote. He is under arrest because of probation violation. And like I said, they did find his car and he burned it. And I'm just mind blown that happened. So, but I wanted to give you guys that brief update on this case. You know, if there's more, I'll let you guys know, or I'm sure Bop will let you know. But this is what we have so far. This just came out like probably half hour ago, 40 minutes maybe. So it is. Yeah, it's devastating for his wife and kids. Hi, Crazy for Reptiles. How are you? Hi, Avery. Okay, so let's dive into this, guys. We're going to dive into the timeline, the affidavit, the searches, everything that happened in this case. Whatever you guys want to discuss, that's where we will go. I know that a lot of people are starting to bring this up again and talking about the things. Yes, BC, I did hear that, but it's an unconfirmed rumor at this point, and so I'm not sure if it's true or not, and I really don't want to put it out there if it's not. Does that make sense? So, whenever we talk about missing person cases, a lot of times, we talk about how frustrating it is that kids get labeled runaways and they're out there missing and nobody knows where they are, and it seems like the police and the communities and nobody really cares because they're just a runaway. That is not what happened in Gannon Stauch's case, and I can honestly say his community, his family, everyone pulled together and they did amazing efforts to search for him whenever he was very first reported missing. And honestly, whenever it comes down to it, the EPC Sheriff's Office, the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, as far as keeping Facebook and keeping internet sleuths and the family and everyone else up to date, they did phenomenal. Like, you could not ask for a better police department as far as keeping us up to date about everything that was going on through his case. Like, we are talking daily updates, weekly updates from the beginning. And I can honestly say I got extremely spoiled by the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, because then whenever Summer Wells went missing and we were getting no information, barely any updates, Hawkins County has like been tight-lipped this whole time. I just sit there and scream in my head, like, why aren't you telling us something? Because I got so spoiled by how amazing the El Paso County Sheriff's Office was. You heard it on News Nation. Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. News Nation is about as reputable as any other content creator at this point because they just read Facebook to people. I mean, honestly, I used to think that they were better than that, but with throughout the Idaho 4 case, I've been extremely, extremely disappointed with some of the stuff that I've seen Banfield reporting on, and it's just sad, honestly. Yeah, Avery, yeah, they never did anything on Summer. And so some of the very first updates, just very early on, El Paso County Sheriff's Office started on February 2nd, putting out these daily updates, basically. Honestly, it may have started before that, but the first one that's popping up for me is February 2nd. It says Sheriff's Office update on the search efforts for Gannon Stout. On February 1st of 2020, the El Paso County Sheriff's Office and partners continued our search in the focused area of Lorson Ranch. Our office and over 160 people continue to put in extraordinary search efforts for Gannon and preserve and recover any evidence that could lead to his return. Our partners in today's search efforts are the FBI CARD team, Pikes Peak Regional Office of Emergency Management, El Paso County Search and Rescue, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, Colorado Springs Police Department, Fountain Police Department, Salvation Army, the voluntary organizations active in disaster, the Army 4th Engineer Battalion, um, the National Guard 100 Missile Defense Brigade. Like, they had a ton of military people out there searching for this boy. A ton. This afternoon, Gannon's family was able to spend much needed time meeting with and thanking those who have been looking for him. There are no words to express the family's appreciation and gratitude for the efforts of everyone involved in searching for Gannon. We would like to remind those who live in or around the Lorson Ranch area to be mindful of and check areas on your property a child may hide, to include yards, window wells, outbuildings, culverts. If you have any information as it relates to Gannon's case, please call. And they were even giving us tip updates whenever there was information that they couldn't give us. This one says we have received 110 tips up to date, and they did this over and over and over again, all the way through, all the way until his remains were found. They updated us, if not daily, then they did it weekly, letting us know how many tips there were and where they were at in the investigation, even providing things such as this drone footage of the search that occurred up on the highway 105. And so I just want to just say how amazing they were and really commend them through this. Yeah, in the bushes, the military did. They stepped up in a major way through this. And it's disappointing whenever you don't see police departments react this way after seeing a police department do such great work on a case. Oh, I know. Hawkins County is just pitiful when you look at this. I agree. Right. 1,000 times better than Summer Wells. 1,000 times better. Let me get you guys let's go down through this article here. I think is a good one because it talks about the affidavit timeline. So the timeline of events according to the arrest affidavit. If we're going to look at timelines, I know that there are a lot that were out there prior to the affidavit being released. This one I think is one of the more up to date ones from KRDO. They did a great job compiling this one. And so this one says the tragic case of Gannon Stauch's disappearance evolved into an alleged murder, and new details in the arrest affidavit reveal that police believe Stauch's stepmother lied to investigators and undertook numerous steps to conceal the crime. She was arrested in early March, more than a month after she reported Gannon's disappearance from their Lorson Ranch home on January 27th. After weeks searching, police obtained enough evidence to charge LieTecia with first degree murder, tampering with evidence, and a slew of other charges. So they attained a copy of the arrest affidavit. They says that they revealed that LieTecia tried to deceive them multiple times, including concocting a fictional story about alleged rape inside of her home, resulting in the rapist abducting Gannon. So even this starts talking about all of the different lies she has told. It's okay, see, I'll see you later. Thank you so much. Yeah, JDR, they really did. They set the standard. Like this is how this is how I wish every police department kept the public involved because we were able to have constant factual information to even keep internet sleuths talking, to keep YouTubers and whoever else was covering the case talking about things that were factual. And then we didn't have to rely on rumors and things like that because they were out here. They were out here telling us what was going on. And Lord knows with T's lies, we have so many lies that she told. And so that was enough to keep people talking about that. You know, we didn't need help with more speculation because she spun so many that it's just insane to be completely honest. So some of the lies that T's told was that they went to Burger King together. She dropped Gannon off and they went to Burger King. He ran away. It was an accident. He was abducted. He had a bike. He didn't have a bike because he switched it with his sister. You know, even in that, she twisted it and changed how she said it. She said that whatever the attacks happened, that she was downstairs working out with headphones on, or I'm sorry, not when the attacks happened. She said that when Gannon left that day, when he left the house to go to this friend's house that he allegedly went to, even though he had allegedly stayed home from work, or I'm sorry, not work, from school, because he wasn't feeling well, she apparently was letting him go to his friends, and she didn't see him leave or know what he was wearing whenever he left, or know when he left because she was downstairs working out and she had headphones on. um then she later gave a description of the person that Gannon got into a vehicle with to law enforcement, and was able to give them a description of the person that they needed to go find because she knows that he got into a car or went with this other boy. Um, she said that Gannon left with nothing, and we thought at one point that he had taken his Nintendo Switch with him. We found out later that the Nintendo Switch was actually located whenever they were cleaning up the house. And so that was found. Yeah, it did. They kept the social media Mavins busy, so they were not looking for too much speculation. I agree, Magenta. I wish that they could force her to like change it. Hi, wait, how are you? She told a ton of lies. Okay. Um, so one of the other things that she said was through this, whenever she was running around on social media, spreading all of her lies and all of the different things and trying to make it she tried at one point to make it look like Harley and her were destitute. She said that Albert had shut off their phones and that he froze their bank accounts. And then later she tried to tell us that Albert and her were completely fine. She showed us emails from Valentine's Day where she was communicating with him, and she actually put out these emails that showed that she was telling Albert that there was an alleged rape that happened to Gannon. And she was just back and forth all the time, all the time. Um so yeah, I mean, that's just a small amount, of some of the lies that she told. Okay. So So investigators eventually found blood inside of Gannon's bedroom, the GPS location information that followed LieTecia's return to the scene near Highway 105 and Perry Park Road, where police believe she originally disposed of Gannon's remains. The document reveals it's a possible motive for the brutal killings. She was unhappy at home and looking for an escape. These are the details alleged by police investigators in El Paso County. So it says January 25th to January 29th. This is where they start talking about all of her different Google searches, which I'm just going to pull up the affidavit for this part because I want to look at this a little bit better. So on page 22, it goes down through her different Google searches. They have so much evidence on her. So much. Let's see. Let me zoom this a little bit so that you guys hopefully are able to read it. So some of her Google searches, she had to like find real military singles. Parenting should be four people, not one. I'm doing all of the work for my stepkids. Their mom doesn't help. If your kids aren't involved in your life, are you shitty? I wonder if my ex-husband's wife is sending me a card since I raise her kids. One day, people will wish they treated you differently. This is all, 2 days before everything happens. This is her Google searches leading up to this. Just her showing how unhappy she was. Um, and I think honestly, deep down, she probably knew that Albert was cheating on her at this point. My guess is that things weren't right in their relationship. And she was blaming in her mind the kids. She couldn't travel with him. She couldn't go out and do fun things. She couldn't just be free because she constantly had to watch the kids. And you see her lashing out in her Google searches and looking for answers to why this is happening. Um Find a guy who wants me to take care of his kids and get paid. It's crappy. Some parents don't care for their kids or buy them presents. Parents who put their kids before their nail, or parents are those who put their kids before their nails. Hey dear, how are you? Hi Dory. And then, the evening of the 26th, or sorry, 27th, you start to see things like my son burned the carpet. How do I fix it? It's at 12:09 a.m. Will a humidifier help if exposed to smoke? Smoke effects. Will humidifier help? Then Colorado law for kids staying at home. School is out. Is it okay for my kid to stay home alone? My son is sick, but I have to go to work. Son sick. Can he stay home? Then at 4 a.m., 4:40 a.m., suede repair kit for sofa. And then that's it until or at least that's all they showed us until she Googles the El Paso County Sheriff's Office phone number at 6:54 p.m. And then they show us that she starts Googling the process for the runaway and can they find my switch and different things like that. They're asking for our son's toothbrush, but said nothing is wrong. Google search, which I will say for missing cases, it is standard for them to take DNA. Yeah, we all need a refresher before T's trial. I agree. It is standard though for them to take DNA of a missing child from the parents. That's not that uncommon, especially if they think that there is foul play involved and things like that, which the very first day, it wasn't as clear that there was foul play involved, but they found the blood, I think it was the second day. Let me find where. On January 29th, they found the blood evidence. So they knew very early on. They found in the dishwasher multiple carpet brushes with suspected carpet fibers on them, and the dishwasher appeared to have been run. They believe the investigators believe at the time that the brushes were used to clean up the murder scene. To be clear, no formal testing was completed until later. But they knew all the way since January 29th that there was likely foul play. Investigators recovered a piece of carpet from the room with possible blood stains. The recovery of this carpet tends to support the positive alerts from the BTU reactive agent, which this looks all goofy because I went out of it and came back in. Hi, Hope. How are you? So on the 26th is whenever LieTecia alleges that she met Eduardo near a construction site. She literally, whenever she was typing it on Facebook, would call him Egg Guardo. And so everybody made fun of that quite a bit, to be completely honest, because she was like, it was just such a made up thing. She claims that Gannon knocked over the candle, burned the carpet, and she called Eduardo to fix it. They gave him the garage code and he would fix it the next day. LieTecia claims Gannon is up most of Sunday night into Monday morning with stomach problems. At 4:37 a.m. on Monday, January 27th, she told her employer her stepdad was killed after being hit by a car and that she won't be in to work. So Gannon stayed home from school and he was likely alive the morning of the 27th, this article says. We do know that he walked out to the truck, so he was obviously alive at this point. LieTecia takes pictures on her cell phone of Gannon sleeping in bed. The neighbor surveillance video shows LieTecia and presumably Gannon leaving the residence at 10:16 a.m. She left her cell phone at home. It was locked between 9:56 a.m. and 2:45 p.m. At 10:37 a.m., she sent a text from Gannon's phone to Harley and says, Tisha left her phone at home. Text her, or if you need her, text me. Sorry. 12:06, Al texts Gannon and says, hey, buddy, during this time, LieTecia travels to Petco on North Nevada Avenue. She completes her purchases, and Gannon is not seen on surveillance from the video at the store. So they don't know where she went from 11:22 until 1:22 p.m. At 1:21 p.m., Gannon's phone responds to a text from Al and says, can I play Zelda at least? And he replies, not today. So she went back to the Petco on North Nevada at 1:22 and she made another purchase. At 1:43, she searched, can my parent find my cell phone if it's off? Detectives believe that LieTecia wrote this. 2:14 p.m. Investigators believe Gannon was murdered by LieTecia after this timestamp at his residence, more specifically in his bedroom. So they return. The ADT motion detector shows no movement between 10:16 and 2:19 p.m. They believe that she entered the home with Gannon at 2:22 p.m. Lena was at school and Harley was at work. At 2:30 is when she tells detectives during her interview with them that she was raped by Eduardo. So obviously we know that that's not true. During this time, ADT motion sensors show movement between the upstairs and the downstairs. At 2:45 p.m., she unlocks her phone. At 3:15, she claims that this is the last time that she saw Gannon, leaving the residence to go play with a friend. Lena returns home from school, and LieTecia tells her that Gannon is asleep in her bed and instructs Lena to go outside and play. So between 3:30 and 3:42, Lena is outside riding her bike. Between 3:41 and 4:20, there are several messages between LieTecia and Harley and Al. And at 3:55, Al sends a message to Gannon's phone saying, "Hey, buddy," that wasn't read until 7:40 p.m. So at 4:42 is when Harley returned home, and she picks up Lena and she leaves. She goes to the store, she gets the items. She is gone with her until, she went to the store at 5:14 p.m. to get the trash bags, the baking soda, vinegar. So, and then at 6:55, Gannon's reported missing. It's my belief that the ADT seems to go off and up and downstairs at the same time because she's flying through the house like a manic yeah, I agree with that, Kate for Big Little Voices. My honest opinion about what happened throughout this based off of different things that I know that most people don't know. You know what I mean? And honestly, things that I can't even really reveal to you guys. So I'm just gonna say my theory about what happened is I believe Sunday evening she hurt Gannon. I think that she hurt him to a point where he needed medical care and that it was not explainable. The injuries that she had given to him would not easily be explained away, and she would have ended up with charges of some type. I don't know if her harming him initially was intentional. I don't know if it was something that she lashed out in anger. I don't know if it was something that, did it happen on a regular basis where she was abusive to them? I don't know the answers to those questions. But what I think is she hurt him and then she tried to cover it up. Everything after that initial injury, everything after that video of Gannon crying, which we are going to watch, everything after that point, I think was her beginning to plan how she needed to make it look like what happened to Gannon was accidental or was him. So after the initial injury, she messages Albert about bath salts. And she says something to him along the lines of, you know, Gannon was talking to his friends about bath salts and, trying to make it look like Gannon may have a drug problem. I think that evening she decided to drug Gannon. She also left at some point during that evening and came back. And I think she went out to purchase street drugs of some sort. I don't know what kind. I think she convinced Gannon to take them because they would help him, quote unquote. And she was hoping that he would overdose and he would die. I think that is why he looks so sickly walking out to the car, to the truck on the video footage. I also think that that's why he looks so sickly laying in that bed that morning, because she had already injured him. She had already drugged him. I think she went to the Petco because she was hoping for an alibi. She wanted it to look like she was in the store shopping and Gannon overdosed on something and she came out and freaked out. And unfortunately, she came out from Petco and Gannon wasn't dead. So she drove around for 2 more hours. They don't know exactly to where, or at least they haven't told us exactly to where they believe that she went. But I believe that she was either waiting for him to die still, or that she administered more drugs to him at that point, and then went back to Petco so that she was seen again on cameras. Same scenario, was gonna wait for him to die, took him home. I think he could have been in the suitcase at whenever she took him back into the house. That's why she went in through the garage entrance. That is why we don't see him necessarily getting out of the truck. I think she took the suitcase to his bedroom, was gonna lay him in bed, maybe send Lena in to check on him or to go wake Gannon up for dinner, and Gannon was gonna be dead. I think whenever she opened the suitcase to put him in bed, Gannon was alive and awake and alert and fought for his life. I think it freaked her out. She grabbed the box cutter off of the table and she stabbed him and then went to the room and got a gun to make sure that he was dead. She used Albert's gun to shoot Gannon. And I think from there, she did what she could to clean up this horrific murder scene. And everything from there is history. I think so, JDR. I think she tried to overdose him. I think that I personally think that she panicked whenever he was still awake. That's my opinion. I think she panicked whenever he jumped up and she grabbed the knife and killed him and stabbed him and then shot him to make sure that he was dead. Because at that point, there was no coming back. I mean, she stabbed him how many times? He had so many wounds on him, so many defensive wounds. He fought for his life. You think she drugged him too in the bushes? You've always wondered about the SA because she said they were both SA. I think she was trying, Jane Doe, to come up with a reason as to why blood would be everywhere. They found blood. She knew that they were gonna find blood. She even alleged that she cleaned up the scene afterwards because she knew that they were gonna find blood. Kate for Big Little Voices, the family has the toxicology, the family has the autopsy results. It has not been revealed to the public, no. That stuff is all private, and again, this is my thoughts, right? If you remember, some of the things that she alleged later on was that Albert always had drugs in the house and, he was on street drugs and different things like that. That's all stuff that she has told us through Facebook over time, right? She has brought drugs into this many, many times. And so I think that that plays a part in this. I think she was going to try to make it look like Gannon overdosed. She could say Gannon fell and hit his head off of the column in the living room, and that's why there was blood in the living room. She could say that something like that would would be explainable away if Gannon was on drugs and tripping around and doing goofy things. She could say that this child overdosed, and it would be believable if she could blame it on everyone else. You've been so stuck trying to understand it all. Yeah, it's been super personal to you always. Always will be. Same for me, Kate. It's just devastating. There was so many options. On January 25th, whenever she was Googling about all of the reasons she was angry at Landon, all of the reasons that she was angry at Albert not being around and not being there for her, all of the things that she was looking up, she should have left January 25th. That's when she should have left. But what a lot of people don't know about is she was frustrated because they had just gotten back from a cruise and stuff. That's why Albert's mom was in town. Albert's mom had just left. Just left. But what most people don't know is they asked Landon to take the kids for while they were on that trip. And Landon said no. They offered to pay to fly the kids out and back so that Landon could have the kids while they were on their cruise, while they were away for their week or whatever it was. And she said no. That's why Albert's mom had to come stay with them. She had so much resentment and frustration and everything else towards Landon. She should have left. She was trying so hard, in my opinion, to try to hang on to Albert. And I think she knew he was cheating. And she was blaming the kids. And Gannon was always Albert's, like, he was always their pride and joy. Because Gannon was born premature and had to fight for his life since birth. He was always like the special child. And so I think that's part of why it was him. Part of why the abuse happened, why the frustration was taken out on him and all those things. Yeah, Jane Doe, I think she was very jealous of Gannon. Probably Lena too. I honestly, if they would not have taken Gannon's runaway serious, if the police didn't take this seriously and search for him the way that they did, and the community didn't take this seriously and search for him the way that he did, I honestly believe that she would have eventually hurt Lena too. Yeah, she trashed Landon and helped to kind of keep the kids away from their mom with Al for her own purpose, and then resented them. Yep. And I think a lot of it, Kate, had to do with financial reasons. I do. I think that, because you get a stipend for each kid or whatever. And I won't hate on Landon or on Albert. You know what I mean? Middle of the road, they all failed him in some way, shape, or form. This isn't pro Al, pro Landon. This is a look at what Gannon went through. You know what I mean? What happened with Gannon. All of them played a part in what happened to him. Every single one. Yeah, and to think Landon and LieTecia were friends before Al cheated. Sad. It's sad. So I do want to take a look at the video, you guys. It's a hard thing to watch, but I think it's important to show and look at what possibly could have been going on that evening whenever she recorded the video of Gannon. And so I know some of you guys do not like to watch this video. It is hard to watch. I recommend muting for the next couple seconds while it plays, next couple minutes, because I am going to play it as soon as I find it. So this is courtesy of Wicked Truths. Let me drop this link here. They flipped the video over because if you remember, the original video was recorded upside down and was all chaotic. Yeah, he had to endure it. We can at least listen to it. So they flipped this video over so that it was easier to tell what exactly is going on.
Well, devastating. Initially, Scott, I can't lie, when the TMZ information.
Gannon, I promise this is the last time I'm going to ask you. I'm just freaked out, okay? Are you sure you didn't do it on purpose?
He did it.
Okay, we promise. You promise.
On purpose.
Pinky promise.
Pinky.
Okay, all right. So, listen. Listen, we're all right. We're gonna have to sell stuff to fix it. Okay. So we figure out what we gotta sell. We can sell the sofa. We can sell whatever, because we gotta get it fixed. So, lady, don't be mad at us and kick us out of the house. Okay? You got it?
Well, devastating. Initially, Scott, I can't lie, when the TMZ information was
Gannon, I
initially
promise this is the last time I'm gonna ask you. I'm just freaked out, okay? Are you sure you didn't do it on purpose?
He did it.
Okay, you promise.
Not
You promise.
on purpose.
Pinky promise.
Pinky.
Okay, all right. So listen. We're all right. We're gonna have to sell stuff to fix it. Okay. So we figure out what we gotta sell. We can sell the sofa. We can sell whatever, because we gotta get it fixed. So, lady, don't be mad at us and kick us out of the house. Okay? You got it?
You're right, Kate. Like she did. She stopped him from saying what he didn't do on purpose. And you hear her say, I'm going to ask you again. How many times had she gone in there? How many times had she tried to record that tiny little segment? I'm curious what police will find in her deleted files on her phone. They have it. The digital evidence that they have, I'm sure, is really overwhelming because she's an idiot. She was a complete and total idiot. She wants to take pictures of everything and show everybody everything and prove herself over and over and over again. And all she did was give them mountains and mountains of evidence. You don't think it was a snap moment. You think she planned it for when Al was out of town. Interesting. Like, you think she planned in advance to do it. Yeah. You can tell he was interrogated and he cannot believe this is happening. Was this the first time that she hurt him ever or this bad? According to her, Albert was always the heavy-handed one. It wasn't her. Albert did all of the discipline. And so I've always wondered, was this the first time that she completely snapped and she did something to him? I mean, we've heard rumors of her choking Lena before. Is that true? Was it just rumors? Or was this like a regular thing? The abuse. Yeah. His moaning after he said Pinky always makes me cry. I really wish that Plunder hadn't deleted her videos because there was actually two different versions of this video. Some of us seen it and not very many people did. But when Leticia first posted that video, there was a couple extra seconds at the end of it. And it said at the end of it, it says I'm bleeding. And people always question that and they say, well, no, that was added, blah, 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 because the video that we seen didn't have it. But I will honest to God tell you, I was there. I was there whenever Leticia posted it. I seen it, I seen it. And it did. The original said I'm bleeding. Once it was pointed out to her that it said that I'm bleeding, she hurried up and took it down, cut the last part off, and reposted it. Oh, I'm sure she does, Kate. I want to email her and ask her to put all of her Gannon stuff back. I think she took a lot of her videos down whenever YouTube took her monetization as kind of like a protest towards them, and I don't blame her one bit because they took her monetization after all this time for no reason, for reused content or whatever. And so I get it. She wasn't going to leave her stuff up and let YouTube make money off of her basically. Um But I want to email her and see if she can put back all of her Gannon stuff because I think it's important. She had a ton of information and a ton of the screenshots and the videos and all of that stuff too. And I really think it's important that it's there. A lot of it was recorded through her. You heard and seen it too, Jane Doe? Yeah, you heard it too on the original. Yeah, he would be 14 now. So let me go back to the timeline article. Yeah, her work on Gannon's case was amazing in the bushes. Amazing. So the deputies didn't come that evening until 10:09 p.m. and they responded they were unable to locate Gannon. The deputies observed the T-gun backed into the garage and they went into Gannon's room. They later compared body footage, camera footage of the room and compared it to photos taken earlier in the day. They noticed that Gannon's bed had different bedding and sheets and that it was moved against the wall. Now, if you remember, she actually cut a section of the carpet out. So on Tuesday, January 28th, she texted the babysitter and she said, "This happened after 3:30. We talked to him and told him to be home by 6. And the sitter said, "Someone posted he wasn't at school either." And she said, "Yeah, he had to go to the doctor for his stomach, but he was here in the afternoon." So that was another lie that she said, because obviously he did not go to the doctor that day. The sitter said, "Where did he say he was at?" And she says, "Honestly, I don't keep up with friends." She blamed Albert for being the one who talked to all the friends. He was the one who kept track of everything, according to her. At 8:30, she showed rented a 2019 Kia Rio from the Avis Rent-A-Car in Colorado Springs. At 8:48, she texted Harley to pull her car into the garage. At 8:50, she picked Al up from the airport and stopped at King Soopers, Wendy's, and then headed back home to Lorson Ranch. At 12:57, she searched on her phone, "Can Nintendo find my Switch?" So a lot of people have speculated it's because she took the Switch and put it with his body wherever he was. And whenever they found Gannon, they didn't find his Switch. And that's because the Switch was actually at the house. And I personally think that she was looking for it to make sure that nothing was on it. She couldn't find it herself. But they did find it under the TV whenever they were at the home. Yeah, she lied so much you can tell she was going to later wiggle out of her lies about Gannon's whereabouts that day, right? Do we know if the screen name of T's aunt has been lured? It's been said she was always here in the chats. On YouTube. I don't know, Kate. I'm not sure. Hi, Rita. How are you? And not very many people realize that the Switch was found. I know that that's one of the big questions that has always been out there. But the reason that many people don't know about it is it's something that Bobby Owens told us in a Facebook group, later on, that Landon actually gave, I believe it was her. It was either her or Rebecca got the Switch from her, but I think it was Bobby that Landon went ahead and gave her the Switch at a later time. So they asked LieTecia for Gannon's toothbrush for DNA. So then she texted Al and asked, she said, "They are asking for our son's toothbrush and they said that there is nothing wrong." Sorry, hold on one second. I just got a text message I have to respond to. Sorry about that. She texted Al and she said they're asking if our son's toothbrush, but said nothing is wrong. Something isn't right. I think they're hiding something. And he says, "Who? The police?" And she says, "Yes, they asked for toothbrushes." He says, what do you think they are hiding? At this point, honestly, I think that Albert was probably suspicious of her. There is one that's still here to this day. I won't say because it is or isn't her. Either way, it would end that username, right? Yes, YouTube and Facebook. I knew on Facebook the family was there. I didn't realize YouTube. Switch was found. I wonder if she hid the switch telling Gannon that they would have to sell it. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think it was Gannon asking to play Zelda either. I think T wasn't going to risk Gannon ratting on her. I think that she had the phone all day. Yep. Al knew how sneaky she was and that he had to play along with her. You do remember hearing that part, Dolores? Yeah. Okay. So she picked the T-Gon up at 7 p.m. 7:02, she left with it. Between 7:02 and 12 a.m., they believe on the 29th that she used the T-Gon to dump Gannon's remains. So between 8:30 and 10:20, the location shows that the T-Gon was in the area of Highway 105 Perry Park Road in Dallas County, Colorado. So my theory on this is that I believe that after she did what she did, she wrapped him up in that blanket because, like I said, the blanket was not the same blanket. Whenever the detectives came later, they knew that the blanket had changed. And I think that she wrapped him up inside of all of the blankets and the sheets and stuff, and I think at that point she stuck him in the suitcase. I believe that she kept the suitcase in the closet, the utility closet that had the blood in it. I think that she kept him in there until after the detectives came so that the suitcase just looked like a regular suitcase sitting in a closet. I don't think that she put him in the back of the T-Gon until after the detectives left that day. Simply because if a detective was going to look for a missing child and they opened the trunk of your car and you have a piece of plywood so that blood doesn't get in your car, right? A piece of plywood and a suitcase. Don't you think the detective is going to think, that's weird? Because I certainly would. I would think that that was uncommon, right? And however, but searching for him, they didn't even look under the bed enough to see if there was any blood evidence or anything else that very first evening. So I think that she stuck him in the suitcase. She cleaned up as much as she possibly could before Harley and Elle came back inside, and she stuck him in the closet until that evening, whenever they started, until everybody was asleep, and then she stuck him on the plywood in the back of her trunk. I also think that that's how the blood trail that went from the closet to the garage got there. I think that the suitcase was leaking. And I think that that's also how the blood got on the back of the T-Gon. The suitcase itself, I think, was leaking. And that's why she knew she needed the piece of plywood, because of the fact that it was leaking. And that's also why she threw the wood out too, because obviously it had blood on it. She was trying to get rid of all of the evidence. So he did open the trunk. The reporter who was in there during the preliminary hearing, we couldn't see it, right? It was all just audio, or it was all just Twitter, right? We were reading tweets as they were going through everything. So we ourselves didn't get to see the body camera footage yet. We will at trial though. And he said that it was too dark to tell if the suitcase was already in the trunk or not. He could not see it. Yeah, it had to have been leaking, right? Especially since they found blood evidence up on Highway 105. So, at 9:16 to 9:28, the data from the T-Gon shows the car driving into a rural area near Highway 105 and Perry Park Road, and then driving out. Harley's phone was at near the Stauch residence at that point. Detectives don't believe that Harley was with LieTecia during this time. Harley left the Stauch residence at 10:26. Detectives believe that she picked up LieTecia near Powers and Carefree at 10:45 p.m. So this is after she dumped his body, after she felt comfortable that she no longer had any evidence that they were going to be able to find, right? She thought she was in the clear. She says, "What do you want from me? Because I have nothing. One of your very own leaked to me what you guys were doing. I did nothing, or I am being set up. I'm not really even sure, other than being told that by another blue with El Paso. I was told I couldn't go home to sleep, and on top of that, men were sent to a home with a minor female, and she was forced to stay there, not to even have good. Every conversation that said, even at this moment, I can hear inside, what do you want from me?" The detective said, "Come in and talk to me. I would just like information to find Gannon." So on the morning of the 29th, they rented the Kia Rio. LieTecia was picked up by someone driving the white Jetta. They think it was Harley. At 11:30 a.m., surveillance video caught the T-Gon at the car wash with potential blood on the back bumper. So they've seen the blood, on the surveillance footage. She took it and washed it before she went to a meeting with the detectives. At 12 p.m., she went in for her interview with the detectives 2 hours later, and she brought several pieces of paper with her for her interview notes. They noted that her vehicle was wet. During that meeting, she claimed that she was held at gunpoint and raped by a Hispanic male named Eduardo, and Gannon was abducted by a male after he finished raping her. She claimed that the man was in the basement when she came home on 127 and allowed her to greet Lena, and that he raped her between 3:30 and 4:30 p.m. She claims that he may have hit her in the head and that she blacked out, and that at that point that Gannon jumped on his back. He threw him across the room, held him at gunpoint, demanded a suitcase and a cardboard box. I think that this right here is because in the utility closet, I am willing to bet that the suitcase will be seen on body camera footage sitting inside of the utility closet on top of a cardboard box. Almost willing to bet it. She claims that then she cleaned up the area. They offered her a rape kit and she denied it. They took her phone at that point. At the end of the interview, she stuck her tissues down her pants with all of her notes on it and claimed to have chest pain, shortness of breath, and was transported to the hospital. Once she got to the hospital, she was fine. And I think that this is like one of the first times that we start to see how much and the extent that she is going to go through to try to lie her way out of this. And that's why I call her LieTecia a lot of the time. Or teabag, those are her two things. Yeah, she tries her hardest to explain evidence away. Auctioneer music. You want me to get Gray Hughes like button? Hit the like button, like button. No thanks. It could have been too that the outwardly appearing good family, right, and the good community, military community, it borrowed time for tea. It did. It did. And that's something that I actually talk about there's like a 20-minute video that I put together of, type T's shenanigans basically. And let me get you guys the link for it. But it really does. It talks about how she bought herself time with every single lie that she told. She bought herself time. And that's what she needed. She needed time for all of this and so that she could plot her escape, so that she could figure out how she was going to get out of here without being arrested. I know. Yeah, we will lose our breath seeing that suitcase. I already know. I don't know if I'm completely emotionally prepared for this trial. And that says something because as close as I feel to this case, as close as many of us feel to this case, you know, it's nothing compared to his family. They did, Mama Bear too. They have found his body. Hi, surviving the storms. How are you? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Her face and her eyes at the hearing. I know. Let me get you guys. Mm. So Friday, January 31st is when she does the backwards interview with Spencer Wilson. And we can watch that if you guys want to. But they believe that that's whenever she went back and got the suitcase and when she left. So on Saturday, February 1st is whenever they started to find the blood in the vehicle and stuff. And when they started their more thorough search of the household. Remember though, she had told them that there was going to be blood. She had told them that they were assaulted. She had told them that she cleaned up blood. She admitted to so many things. And I think, honest to goodness, like for her to do an insanity plea after she admitted and she was in her right mind to do all of these things and to try to cover it up and then to tell them different stories and all the things, it's just impossible to me to imagine her even getting off with an insanity plea, because everything that she did over these days, this wasn't she killed Gannon and they found him and she like was still in a state of confusion or insanity or any of those things. Like this is not that. Um this is a situation where this went on for months. This went on until mid-March, whenever they found Gannon's remains. This went on until they arrested her. All of her lies and constant stories and different Facebook profiles and the conversations that she did under the Peyton Marie profile and, you know, different things like that. Like they're going to have so much evidence. It's no wonder that the documents are like 80,000 pages or whatever they said. I'll never understand how anyone can do. Yeah, who harm to defenseless children and animals, right. He was just a little guy who needed love, right. Right, if she was insane, she wouldn't have tried to cover it up. Exactly. I highly doubt it too, Mama Bear. I'm not sure how far you are too. And the only reason that I don't think that their home life was that bad was because even with, like, I will always maintain that I think that the things that have been alleged about Albert, that have been put out about him, I think that a lot of it had to do with the custody battle that was going on between Albert and Landon. And I understand Landon wanting to do whatever she felt like she had to do to try to get custody of her daughter, because at this point she had lost her son. I get it. I understand her mom instincts to want her other baby to be with her. But I will say, but there was a lot of lies and horrible things said about Albert and alleged about Albert over the course of that custody hearing. And none of it came out to be true. None of it. And it was just really sad to watch her and her friends and everyone who was part of it to go after Albert the way that they did with the stories and stuff, right? Because this family, I was hoping that they were going to come together. Gannon would have wanted them to come together, and in the beginning they did. But then there was a lot of anger, and rightfully so. I would be angry too. You better bet your ass if my kid's dad, if we were separated and he let some monster do something like this to my child, you better bet that I would be all over it, and I would want justice too. I would want him held accountable too, and I would want my other baby with me too. I get it. But unfortunately, like I said, a lot of the stuff was not true. And Albert has retained custody. And I'm going to tell you, with the way that there was a microscope on all of this, I really don't think that they would have just gave him custody if there was any suspicion of abuse, period. If there was any thought in their mind that Al could have been even slightly abusive, I do not believe that he would have retained custody of her. I just don't. I just don't. Yes. The profile picture of Gannon. Let me pull that up. It was a video. I have it. 1 second. Yeah, Al is also a victim, so it's complicated, but the victim does not a Saint make, right? Yes, I will be streaming the trial. It's not designed to bring families together. It's not. You're right. It's designed for survival of the fittest, and by fittest you mean money. I don't know though, because I will say Landon had an extremely good lawyer. She had a very, very good lawyer. Aunt Veronica made sure that that was all taken care of. Neglect is the easiest form of abuse. It takes doing nothing, right? How did Al not just insist that they put the past behind them and give their daughter the best they could, right? I don't know. I have no answers for the custody hearing. I just know that it was vicious. Like I seen some of the stuff behind the scenes and whoo. Yes, some of this is stuff that I made with flash drives. It's okay though, because I do have one. I just have to open it. Yeah, they still have to raise her. And it's still joint custody from what I understand. I mean, she still gets to see her. She just didn't get full custody, right? So T took Gannon to Pace, Florida, and she dumped him off of the side of the bridge. And I honestly believe that that she thought that he hit water. I think that she thought that he was never going to be found because he was in the water and she was going to be in the clear. Um, that wasn't what happened. And this area floods a lot where she dumped him over. It was it was it was flooded just a few short weeks after Gannon was found. Somebody went down to the scene and the whole area was filled with water. And so it was just by God's grace that the workers were in that area when they were and found him when they did. Because he would have been gone. This monster really had this missing child out there, had Gannon out there, and shows him waving, saying bye as he runs and jumps off this bridge. And now the person who recorded this cut off the very end where he was jumping into the bridge. I'm not sure how long the initial recording was. Off the pier, I guess I should say. And it's just heartbreaking. She posted that video of the audio of him crying after she hurt him, and then really had the nerve to post him waving goodbye. It was the kind of thing you just know was meant to be. Yeah, she went to this extent to relocate him, and someone went right to him. I agree. I think it was literally by God's grace that he was found. Yeah, Kate, I think so too. That was T twisting the knife, rubbing it in what she did to this child, rubbing it in that he's gone. She thought at that point that she was in the clear. She thought at that point that they were never going to find Gannon. She was sitting there watching them day after day after day, searching up by Highway 105, going through the snow in the woods, inch by inch up there, concerned that they may never find his remains because they couldn't figure out what happened. They found the board with the blood. They found some of his clothing. They found different things like that, but they didn't find him. And she knew that. She knew that. And she knew that he was nowhere near there. And she was just laughing it up, thinking that she was in the clear, that they were never going to find Gannon. And she had said previously in other cases that she had been associated with or followed, no body, no crime. And that was her opinion of it. No body, no crime. So she thought that if she could get rid of Gannon's body, that there would be no crime and that she would never be held accountable. She would never have to face what she has done. And facing what she has done is so important to me because I shouldn't say crazy because she's not crazy. She knew exactly what she did. This woman has gone to so many extents to try not to be seen on camera and not to face what she has done. She has avoided going to court on as many occasions as she possibly could. She has had to be threatened to be drug in there or gagged and brought in, Hannibal Lecter style. She has done backwards interviews. She has gone to court appearances where she has her lawyers try to block the cameras from being able to see her. Just everything to try not to face what she did. And I am so, so glad that they are putting cameras in and making her face it now.
And stepmother.
You've been a part of the investigation since the very first time. You were the last person to see him. Is that right?
Correct.
What did you see when you last saw him?
Well, I'm not allowed to talk about anything with the case. I would more so be willing to talk about how the community needs to have faith and continue to work together and not make these false accusations, like the things that have been said that I've disappeared from the community. I haven't been there to help, but there's lots of reasons behind that.
Reasons like death threats, right?
Right. Death threats are one of them. My family's getting lots of death threats. We counted over 20 some death threats already. Two, my husband's ex-wife is living in our home. And of course, I'm not coming home to do these things and to help with the family when I was kind of like told I couldn't.
So Landon was staying there at this point because they were searching for Gannon. And it was just temporary. Eventually, Landon went to a hotel. So this whole Landon, my husband's ex-wife is living there. No, he's there. She's there trying to help search for Gannon, which is where you should be. She had been not present for since the time that Albert came home. She'd been disappearing and acting strange. I know, Kate. How does an educator speak like this? It's crazy.
And then many other things that happened with the El Paso County Police Department, and in doing the investigation, I was told I wasn't compliant. And can I elaborate on that?
Please do.
Yes. So I asked for an attorney during the interview, and I was denied that by them. I was held because they were blocking the door, and I was told I couldn't leave, and that if I would have touched them, they would have probably, said I still wasn't compliant, or said I was, trying to run away or something. But during the interview, I asked several times, could I stop the interview? Could I get an attorney? Could I stop the interview? Could I get an attorney? I was denied. I was told I couldn't get nothing to drink. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I mean, it was continuously that my constitutional rights were violated.
I literally cannot wait to see the interviews, the interrogations of this. I cannot wait to see what actually happened. Because you're right, yeah, playing the victim, it's all poor me. We all owe her an apology all the time, all the time. It's just crazy.
And that's why you say that they said then you weren't cooperating with the investigation.
That's why they said I wasn't cooperating at that time. Correct.
And why did you ask for an attorney at the time?
Well, I asked for an attorney at the time because there was one individual, there was two really good detectives. And so I'm not, going to talk bad about detectives, but the tactics they started to get when I would answer questions, they try to, they're detectives. They're supposed to twist. The one main goal is to find Gannon. But during that time, some of those things made me feel uncomfortable the way they were saying things. So I immediately stopped and felt like an attorney would help me with some of the vocabulary and things like that I needed help with and understanding some of the things that they were asking.
I'm going to shift gears to what has become a huge online presence of people obviously trying to do the right thing, help find Gannon. But at the same time, sometimes it just feels like rumor mongering. Have you seen any of those comments yourself?
We have. And see, that's one of the main things we haven't been around in the public eye because I didn't want to expose my family to it if all these things were going on. There was comments about Gannon getting pushed off the hike, and there was comments about this, and that's just not true. I took care of Gannon for the last 2 years in our home because his mother didn't want to do it. And I would never, ever hurt this child. And I know there's some questions out there about, okay, so tell me what happens. That's up to the investigations when they end up letting you guys know. But I've cooperated with them, even to the point that we were held with a gun. And my daughter, a 17-year-old who serves our country in the United States Air Force, who has never committed a crime or done anything wrong in her life, was put in handcuffs over the keys that was in her purse so they could take her car.
And they weren't in there.
They weren't even in her car. I mean, in her purse.
I don't know how many of you guys know this, but like the civil rights violations and things like that, that's all, like, T knows all about that because she has actually filed a couple different lawsuits in her past that have nothing to do with this case whatsoever, well before this. And so she is very familiar with like civil rights lawsuits against her old employers and things of that nature. She may have meant language as in legal language. I don't know.
And
they were in my pocket.
You originally didn't even know it was the law enforcement officer?
I didn't know it was a law enforcement officer because when he came out, I guess he was putting his jacket on, and it wasn't necessarily his fault. He was adjusting and happened to catch me. But I saw the gun and I panicked originally and kind of thought, oh gosh, who's this guy? And then once I realized it was the sheriff's office, I was totally okay. But they still had a gun and told me they were going to shoot me. But I was really concerned about my daughter, asking why she was being detained in handcuffs and things like that, when that shouldn't even happen for a child. That shouldn't happen for someone who was standing inside of a store shopping because we couldn't have any clothes because all of our clothes were here. If we came here and got clothes, we would be harassed. So she went to purchase some underwear and things like that and was put in the handcuffs in the store, and then brought out with men with guns. And that's just not okay. They could have approached me and said, hi, I'm with El Paso County. Can I please get this? Instead of the way that it happened.
I'm just going to check her shot. Doing great. I want to make sure that we're still good on recording. Still can hear you okay. Okay. Yeah. Sounds like we're good. Every once in a while, my mic will give out, and I want to make sure that's not going to happen here. Okay. I should try and clarify here. Not necessarily crime rates, but the way that people are reacting online to rumors about you with the search.
Oh yes, wow. The rumors have gotten so bad. I pretty much have been told at least 10 different ways that these people have these conspiracy theories. I guess they watch a lot of law shows and maybe they have all these theories on how Gannon is dead. And that's what they're saying. So I'm like, why are you saying Gannon is dead? He is not dead. We are going to find Gannon. And that's the main goal that we all have. My family has. Just because you haven't seen us, we have that same goal. We've been out searching. My aunt has been out searching. My family has been out searching. We all have been doing that together so that we can protect each other.
How does it feel when not only you have a lost child who you are in care of, but then people blaming you for that child not being there?
You know, I'm just ready for Gannon to come home. Most importantly, for him to see his family. But second, I am going to be so ecstatic when I'm able to say to people that I hope they have a really sincere apology for all these theories that have came out online, for all the things they said that I have done or people have done. And I just want everyone to know that we're going to find Gannon. And I love him so much. I've helped taking care of him for so long.
Can you talk to me a little bit about him? I don't know him.
Gannon is so kind and he loves to play video games. That's one of his favorite things. He loves Sonic and Mario. And, you know, he's always helpful. And he was always so helpful with the dogs around the house. And we have 2 little cute dogs. And he was always like a person I could say, Gannon, can you go do this? And he would do it right away. You know, sometimes with kids, we have to remind them and things like that. And that's okay. But he was so sweet and able to help anyone. He could notice when you're sick and say, are you okay? And such a kind heart.
I know you just said that you can't say anything about the investigation, so you can just...
You know, how she describes him with like how obedient he is and how much he listened to her and you know, how kind and all of those things. Like it really makes you think to what happened Sunday night. What happened that led to her hurting him as badly as she did? Why? What made her snap? What was he doing that was so bad that it started this ball rolling? Hi, Shavane. How are you? Good afternoon. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, Texas turnaround. She really is. Pathological liar. But there's always truth in her lies. Always. Right. It reveals how he walked on eggshells around her as perseverance. Yeah, she did. She corrected herself on past tense. He is, was, right?
Just say so again if you can't answer this, but is there anything we can hear about the hike? Was there a hike? We don't, that just seems like rumors right now.
You know what? Could we bring my daughter up here? Because she can go and say that, you know, she came home from work after the hike and she can verify that Gannon was at our home.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine with me. And if she doesn't want to, that's okay, but you're allowed
That's
to
fine.
ask her. Sound okay so far?
Yes. I need Harley. Because they want you to verify was Gannon at home after the hike. Because you didn't go to the hike, but you came home from work.
So right there, she says about the hike, right? This was one of the areas of contention in the very beginning. She was so upset about people thinking he didn't come home from the hike. And she said, well, there's one hike and then there was 2 hikes because you heard her just say Harley wasn't on the hike, but she came home from work. And originally she was trying to tell people, well, Harley was on the hike, you know? So then she says here he wasn't on the hike. So then she tried to correct herself later and she says that there was 2 separate hikes. Yeah, Stephanie, me too. Me too. Yeah, it just doesn't sound right to a normal person. And honestly, I know that there's a lot of debating out there about Harley and things like that, like about, you know, how involved could she have been and what could she have possibly known and things like that. And I really think that we are going to hear Harley tell us, you know, where her head was. She's going to have to testify to a lot of this stuff. I've always been in the mindset. Sorry, I still have this like random cough that will pop up every now and then from my cold, stupid train dust from Ohio. Anyways, but so I've always been in the mindset that she likely has been so beat down by her mom too, over the years, and was probably terrified to question anything that was going on, no matter how suspicious she thought it was. Um, I've been in the shoes of having an abusive parent in the house and stuff, and you just get scared to do anything. And if Harley believed even for a second that she killed Gannon, could it have been perseverance and self-preservation that led her to not question anything her mom was doing? Was she saving herself at that point to also stop from getting hurt or harmed in any way? That's just, things that I have thought about. She could have been terrified of her mom through all of this.
Do you want me to just say yes?
No, just answer the question. Yes, you came off of work and you can verify Gannon was at home. Yeah. I told her she didn't have to be too in depth because she is still, a child. But I want to make sure that someone knows that there's another person to verify that Gannon.
Sure.
Does she need to hold this?
No.
Yes. So I came home later that evening. I was at work, and I can verify that he was there that night.
So there was a hike that you guys went on, but then you guys came home.
Yes.
Where'd you guys go hiking?
Garden of the Gods.
Okay. I guess when.
And then we ate Burger King afterwards. So,
There you go.
Yeah.
And then it just was, I'm gonna go to play at a friend's house. And then it was just I'm off to go to play at a friend's house.
Unfortunately, I'm not able to comment on that anymore. And for that reason is because some things have been turned and twisted. And, that was one of those stories you were talking about where people say things. We had to hear things like who would let their child go out at dark and things like that. And that's just why I don't want to answer that. If I had to give, I'm not gonna say that part.
That's okay.
Never mind.
Right.
I could take that out.
I understand that it gets tricky with
Yeah.
legal stuff. Do you feel like I asked you what I need to? Do you feel like this is going to help kind of turn the tide of what feels like a witch hunt, in my opinion?
I hope. Am I on camera now?
You are still.
Okay. I think that a lot of people can see that I'm not missing and see that I am being cooperative. But to me, it's okay that they think those things because the way someone thinks about me, I don't have a problem with that. My main thing is I would never want someone to think that I would hurt Gannon or any of the children in our home because that's just not the case. I've spent my whole entire life working so hard in education. There was even things online that was talking about my education license and I shouldn't even be a teacher. And they just didn't know that. We moved on a military move and I didn't finish out my contract. So I gave up my license in that state.
I think it's so ironic that she she constantly flip-flops about that crime curious, she was just a child and she was held at gunpoint and, she was left with these men and she didn't have her mom with her and, presenting her as some incapable person. And then on the flip side, she's like, she serves our country and she's a responsible person. And so she tries to, even with Harley, paint her in both lights. Yeah, it is the fact that you've hurt everyone in that home. You should have nurtured them. You were trusted, T, right? Absolutely.
It had nothing to do with any criminal activity, or any of those things. And it just got blown out of proportion on my professional status, and
Do you feel like these are just internet detectives who think they know what they're doing?
it definitely is. And, here's the thing that kind of saddens me. It's like, if you're going to talk about someone like that and have a witch hunt out for them, why would you even care about doing those things? Because this is a child. You're telling me that you're just as mean, you're just as hateful to talk about someone else like that. That's how I feel. Like we just should not. We should all come together and wait until the end and see what happens, because Gannon's going to come home.
Any message for Gannon?
The message for Gannon I have is, Gannon, when you get here, you'll be able to truly tell what happened. And then I really hope I get a sincere apology from everyone who has made all those things, especially from my husband. We just wanted to add a message to Gannon from my family, is that we love you and miss you, and we hope that you come home soon. And Gannon, I can't wait till you can come home and let everyone know that you're okay. We love you.
You are.
I am.
I will literally never get over the fact that she gives a message to Gannon about the apologies she's going to get and blah, blah, blah. And then has him re-record. Has him literally re-record her crying. I guarantee you she was hoping that they were going to cut this all to pieces and just play just the good clips. She was hoping for just the good clips of what happened. Not the full 10 minutes. Thank you so much to this news station and this reporter for putting this out there in the full copy. There is not very many cases that I have ever followed that I look at it and immediately I'm like, bam, the parents did it. You will not see me on very many cases at all ever sit there and point fingers and attack families and things like that. And this is one of them. This is one of the very few that I have ever. This one and Ariel Sellers. For those of you who didn't follow the Ariel Sellers case, I have a whole playlist. She's going to be going to court too, probably in September, and we'll be following that one closely as well. Isabella Kalua was her adoptive name, Ariel Sellers' birth name. I don't go by her adoptive name because her adoptive monsters are who killed her. But there is not very many cases that I've ever looked at and I said, man, this person is guilty. But I'm going to tell you, LieTecia Stauch, since January, 27th, 28th, even, was right off the bat guilty in my head. We knew. My sister-in-law, the very first night searching, said she was nowhere to be found. She was nowhere to be found. And then there was times that she was supposed to go out and was supposed to be searching and supposed to be looking, and she would just disappear from the crowd. Right off the bat. You found me from Ariel Sellers. Yeah. Single-handedly brought her attention. It was sad. Nobody was covering her case until the parents were arrested. Except for us. We were here. Day after day after day after day trying to get that baby's name out there while her own town was showing news about Gabby Petito. She was missing and no one, her community, the small community was looking, but not enough people. No one knew. And we did that. We brought her attention. I won't even say it was me. It was we. Her family did amazing advocating for her. Yeah, there are times that the truth needs to be shouted until it's heard. Trial starts April 3rd. We will start streaming it here. Jury selection starts next week. Monday the 20th is the beginning of jury selection, but it's only audio. So I'm going to listen to it. If they make that available to us, I will be listening to the audio and I'll try to break it down for you guys in shorts or something along those lines so that you guys can hear kind of the summary of what goes on during jury selection. But April 3rd, we're going to start streaming it. They're going to have 3 cameras in the courtroom. Oh, good, Pez. I'm glad that you like it here. Not quick enough. Yeah, it's 3 years too late. Which, honest to God, I'm so glad it's finally going to trial because I'm going to tell you, Dylan Redwine was in Colorado and that took 8 years. So thank God it only took 3 years for T to be going to court. I can't wait until this boy gets justice. I can't wait until his family is able to know that this monster is where she deserves to be.
Body was found in Florida. We've been inundated with inquiries from the press and the public. This will address only what has taken place as a result of that development in this case. As I've said in the past, we will not try this case in the media. Today, I filed new formal charges in the case against LieTecia Stauch. Those charges are murder in the first degree after deliberation, a class 1 felony that carries a potential prison sentence of life in prison without parole. In addition to that, I've filed 8 counts of crime of violence for the alleged use of a firearm, a blunt instrument, a knife or other sharp object, and for causing the death of Gannon Stauch. These new charges are added to the original 4 charges that we originally filed in this case. Keep in mind, these are merely allegations. All defendants are presumed innocent until and unless they are proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. I will not compromise the integrity of this investigation, so I will not discuss the circumstances surrounding Gannon's death, nor any details regarding the discovery of his body. And please understand, this development does not mean the investigation comes to an end. This still remains a very active investigation. So if anyone has any credible tips, please contact the El Paso County Sheriff's Office tip line at 719-520-6666 or email those tips to tips@elpasoco.com. I do want to thank everyone involved with the investigation, including the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, the FBI, and our partners, our new partners in Santa Rosa County, Florida, to include the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office and the District 1 medical examiner in that jurisdiction. We do still have a pending court date for LieTecia Stauch's next appearance in court, which is April 14th, 2020 at 3 p.m.
Can you ask any questions real quick?
I may not be able to answer them, but you can ask me.
Can you explain how the coronavirus outbreak here is changing the way that this case is moving forward? Obviously, you just said we have a scheduled appointment, but we have there, right?
Yeah, the chief judge in this district has issued some orders that impact really cases where defendants are out of custody. Any in-custody defendants, like LieTecia Stauch, those cases are still being heard as scheduled, at least according to the last release that we've received.
In the past, we'd asked you about trying to move forward without a body. This changes things, right?
It absolutely changes things, yes.
You might not be able to answer this, but can you tell us how long Gannon had been passed away for when he was found?
I'm not going to get into those details.
Can you say anything about how actually finding him or finding his remains now helps the investigation?
Well, anytime you have a homicide case, the body has a lot of evidence associated with it, and I'm speaking in only a general sense. I'm not going to talk about the specifics in this case, obviously.
Had detectives already been looking in Florida when Gannon's body was found?
I'm not going to get into those details.
How's the family doing currently?
We met with the family earlier today, and obviously they're distraught with this information. They were still holding out hope that Gannon would come home alive despite the original charges that we filed in this case. And they're struggling, and they rightfully would be, considering the circumstance of this case. It's tragic, and we, like I said at the beginning, our hearts go out to them.
The sheriff's office said initially there was a tentative identification. Clearly, we feel comfortable enough going out and saying, though, that we have found his body. Can you explain the difference there?
I would just stick with what the sheriff's office released in their press release today.
Can you talk about what it means to investigators themselves emotionally to have this?
I think that would be a great question as we get further along in this case, probably towards the end of the case rather than right now. Our job isn't
Timeline on bringing him back and giving him a formal funeral and services?
So that will probably go a lot towards what the family's decisions are. I'm not in a position to answer that. Any other questions?
When you say the investigation continues, this was one of the big steps we were trying to get to, but we're still looking for more evidence.
We're always, every homicide investigation, the investigation continues all the way right up to trial, actually. So that's not any different for this case. The only thing I want to add is that when everybody leaves today, Lee Richards, our PIO, is in the back of the room, and she will have copies of the new amended complaint and information, so you can take a copy of that when you leave.
Does that include the old charges as well?
All of the original 4 charges are included with the new charges.
Can you explain the difference? Previously, we hadn't said there was a certain level of knowing that we were trying to approach. You said it was knowing but not premeditated. Now we are at premeditated.
The new count of first-degree murder, that class 1 felony that I added, is with intent and deliberation. That's the classic first-degree murder charge that people think of when they think of first-degree murder.
And we can't say the difference of why we've added that.
I'm not going to get into why we've added that. That would get into the facts.
Can you explain why there is a gag order in this case and what that does to protect the case?
Yeah, so it sort of gets back to what I said at the beginning, that the charges are merely allegations and everybody's presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That's why gag orders go into effect and why gag orders say we can only talk about certain things that happen in the courtroom. When we file formal charges like we did in this case, and when we file amended charges like we did today, those are public records, and so we can talk about those and not get into the actual facts that support those charges.
Speaking of public records, have you been in contact with the judge in terms of releasing the arrest affidavit or probable cause affidavit in terms of?
Not since the last court date.
How much more important is it to you to prosecute Leticia Stauch to the fullest extent?
I'm not going to get into that. Every single homicide case that I've ever prosecuted, I take it very seriously.
Can you go into detail about any of the new charges and what those are?
So I've already laid out what they are, but the new count 1 is the with intent and deliberation, the murder. 8 counts of crime of violence sentencing enhancers, and those allege the use of a firearm, the use of a blunt instrument, the use of a knife or other sharp object, and then the 4th and 8th version of those is causing the death of Gannon Stauch.
Do you believe that Gannon was killed here in Colorado?
We have jurisdictional requirements, so we couldn't charge it if we didn't think that it occurred here in our jurisdiction.
Do you think anyone else is involved?
I'm not going to get into that right now.
Thanks for coming here, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Sorry about that, guys. My mother-in-law and my husband both walked in at the same time, so I had to jump to a video real quick because my dog started going crazy. But that was the first press conference after Gannon's body was found, and they added her new charges to her. I'm just so glad that we are finally getting to a point where we are going to look at justice for Gannon. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a live stream. I'm going to dig more into all of the different letters that Leticia has written. We want to look at the letters. We want to look at some of the different lies she has told, some of the screenshots of her posting in the groups, the conversation that T and I had while Gannon was still missing inside of the Leticia Stauch support group. And different things like that. So I hope to see you guys with me tomorrow, probably right around the same time, right around 1:30 for that video. So I am going to go ahead and close up though, because like I said, my mother-in-law's here. So if it was just my husband, I'd probably just keep streaming, but she's here. So, yeah, I don't think anyone else at that point, I think they were still trying to figure out all of the details. But I think at this point, it's been 3 years. If anyone else is involved, that they would have arrested that person as well. I don't think that there's any charges left to be added to anyone. Just my opinion. No, Kate, I'm not the one she talked to on the phone. Honestly, I wasn't very impressed by the person that she talked to on the phone. I wish that they would have let her talk more, because it seemed like that individual, she talked a little bit too much, probably like I would have to be honest. But it was, but I did talk to her in the T Stauch support group under a stock account. So Yeah, let his truth be told. Exactly. The good, the bad, the ugly. I don't care what it is. Like, we're going to look at it. We're going to deep dive into it. And then hopefully we get answers to a lot of the questions that we have, that his family has, and all of those things during this trial. And, just praying that it's quicker than they're estimating it's going to be, so that it doesn't drag, and that the jury is, I don't know, that the jury serves justice the way that it needs to be. She can't be found insane. She has to be found guilty. Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. Can't wait to go over what she said, right? All right, guys, I will see you tomorrow. And honestly, at some point, probably do open call lines so that you guys can call in and give your opinions and let me know what you guys are thinking. Today, I wanted to get through the details, right? I wanted to get through what we know, what we don't know, and the meat, the details and the meat of the case, So probably going forward, we'll do more open panel / call-in style. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, BC. Thank you, Crime Curious. Thank you so much to my mods. You guys are so amazing, every single one of you. And thank you to the mods who have been doing work behind the scenes to try to help me gather everything up. Love you guys, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.